Alright, we're taking a look at this big budget slab of steel, the M33S. This doesn't have a particular brand to it, it's just another one of these big budget Temu frickin' choppers here. I haven't found anything that this is a clone of on Amazon or any other websites. If you know that this is a clone of something, let me know what it is in the comment section, because it seems to be its own thing. The scales are kind of rough. The scabbard, it's got the chicken nugget leather, so don't expect some crazy quality. This was like $25. The Kydex is as good as any Kydex I've ever bought, as far as a knife. The leather is basically on par with it's the genuine leather. That's what you get in a dollar store polo belt that is actual leather fibers, but just compressed and glued together. That's what genuine leather means. So you're not getting veg tan, full grain leather. You're getting chicken nugget leather. So we're going to take this sucker out. And as far as big blades go, my real criteria for a big blade is, is it going to process wood? Is it going to clear land and underbrush? So we do a little bit of limb clearing here and just getting some crap out of the road. And it powers on through pretty easy. This isn't the heaviest knife, but it's also not a light one. It's not front heavy. I really like, for a bigger chopper, to have some front heft to it. And I guess you could say it's slightly front heavy, but not enough to really stand out. There's a lot of blades that just have that good heft in the front for a lot of chopping power. And I would say the midsection of the blade on this is more the real sweet spot to get this thing to bite in on something. Just clear the little bitty branches off of it. This knife, for some reason, seems to want to give some glancing blows every once in a while, but it's not a huge problem, and it cuts in pretty well. Making short work of the little shrub trees, and it stuck in really good right there. It's got a good bite to it when you get it. When you hit the right angle, this thing bites good. Another thing that bites good are these handles, though. They're a little bit outsized from the blade stock, and I'm going to have to tighten them up. I'm going to have to get some Loctite, some blue 242 Loctite, and Loctite the Chicago screws on this, because they did start to shift when I started doing some heavier chopping and stuff like that. But if you line them up, they'll line up pretty good. But there's a little bit of bite and just not quite matching up with the blade stock that goes into the handle. And honestly, I would rather have that problem than to not have a full tang knife, though. So as far as this being a solid, heavy-duty full tang knife, that's definitely what you're getting at a budget price for like $25. Sometimes I've seen them for $40 on the site. I'm kind of a cheap ass, and so I'll put something in my cart and let it sit for a couple days, and in general, it magically goes on sale. So that's another way that I try to get cheap blades here. But look at that bite. That's not bad at all. And I did a short in comparison with the right edge. Just kind of doing a chop-dagon contest here, see which one bites in good. That thing does a great job as far as biting in. But like I said, it's not super front heavy. It's a little bit, but it's not super great. As far as the texture on the handles, it almost looks like they're like 3D printed, but they're not. It's just some weird texture. They're not like they're not going to fall apart or snap on you as far as the handles, but they do need tightened down for sure. Maybe even some adhesive, but they do their job. I would definitely recommend, if you just want to leave this in the factory configuration, get you a pair of mechanics gloves to go along with this blade and just like clip them onto the freaking scabbard or something to where it's just kind of part of the unit. So as far as some of the use case aspects of this, I think that this is a good land clearing tool, a good chopper, just a good wood processing tool. You could use this as a camp knife. You're not going to have a problem cutting some potatoes and junk like that around a campfire with this. It's sturdy enough if you needed to use it in a social work context. It'll definitely do it. Without getting into the morbid side of things here, this will definitely do the job if it was, meat and bone context. I think that this would do a hell of a job. And as far as like the handle, it's got a good, like, just a profile of the handle. You could lock in it. If you look right there on the back side of that, you can see where that doesn't match up. That's what I'm talking about. If you set them and shift it and then Loctite it back down, it'll do fine. But it's moving around a little bit because I was beating the hell out of it. But as far as the handle shape and the contour, you can really lock in good on that if you was to have to stab into or pull out of something. You've got a lot of real estate on the handle. You have a really good amount of control with it. If you know what you're doing, if you have the skill set, you can pretty well do what you want. This isn't necessarily a fine tasks knife. I think the finest tasks you're going to get are, cross grain batoning, something like if you needed to make a few joints and things like that, you could do that. You can obviously feather stick like what I'm doing right here. You can do about anything with a knife, whether it's a big one or a small one. But this isn't as suited to, let's just say, cutting up a deer and getting all the entrails out without making a huge mess. It can be done, but you're going to have to focus and try to not cut things that are going to spoil your meat, so to speak. The spine's okay for raking off a little bit of just scrapings to light up with a ferro rod. It's okay, but I've thought about putting it on a grinder and making a more definite 90. It's sharp enough to do the trick, but it's so-so. So, for me, a large survival knife is, will do the things I mentioned earlier, but, in a survival context, you need something that you can make quick work of things to make a shelter with. If you need to, like I'm doing right now, process down something to make a fire with, it'll do that. Those are the things that I think are requirements for a good survival knife. And this one, I would say this is a good mid to good survival knife. It's durable enough. It's going to hold up. You may have to do a few alterations, which, if you have a knife and it's something you like doing, I think almost everybody who's into knives eventually gets into altering things to fit them a little bit better. And this is a freaking budget blade. If you altered it and screwed it up, you could order another one for dirt cheap. This is the kind of thing to play around with. So, in short, for my purposes, a good survival knife is one that's going to process wood, process meat if you need it to, and be a fighting knife in the end, if it comes down to it. It's to keep you alive in the woods, whether that's against an animal or a person, and to make shelters, cover, things like that. The scabbard, I really like this thing. It has good retention on it. I don't know what I think about the Baldric sling. I've wore it a few times. It seems to hold up, but it needs something a little bit more hefty than that. And here's the hated test. All the boomers hate this, but I think it's a good durability test. And there's some other guys that hate this that aren't just boomers, right? But I think it's a good durability test. The same with throwing a knife at a tree. The same with doing a lot of chopping on some thicker stuff to have to work your way through it. I think batoning is just one of those tests that a good survival knife needs to be able to pass easily. You shouldn't just overdo the wood that you're trying to do, like I'm doing right now. But again, we're testing. We're trying to push the limits of this thing. It's just one of those deals that it's fun to do, and in a pinch, if you needed to come up with some dry wood to make shavings off of in a rainy environment, you could use that and baton through. But this is where either a tip's going to break, your edge is going to chip out in the cold, possibly, especially in cross-grain batoning, and your scales loosen up, that type of thing. This is where you find out the toughness of your knife in a lot of ways. Does a knife have to be able to baton? No. Is it fun? Yeah, and we're going to always do it probably. But I think overall this is a solid budget option. I like the look of it. I like the feel of the knife for the most part in hand, other than needing to frickin' fix the scales and get those tightened down and lined up correctly. But I think that's just part of production knives. You're going to find faults with them, and that's the whole point of getting your stuff out and putting it through some hard tests. And we're going to take one last look at these scales. Yeah, they look kind of like some 3D printed stuff, but they're really not. They got a little bit of a palm swell. That's really the only fault I find with this. I like the scabbard, I like the blade, I like the performance of it. It's just a solid budget option, but you're going to have to mess around with it and do the few things that you would need to get your handles to where they're not shifting on you. But other than that, I think the blade's a good one. I like these budget blades. They're fun to mess with, and they hold up for the most part. So if this is what you're looking for, if you're looking for a cheapie but a solid knife, I think this will serve you well.